The best thing to do is just forget about it and check it later on.
I'd like to call the November town board meeting to order, and invocation, I'd like to call on Commissioner Robinson to lead us.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for a wonderful day, God. We thank you for just how you allowed us to see it. Now, Father, as we come down to conduct the affairs of the town, God, we ask that you allow it to be taken decent and in order. And for that, Father, we say thank you. And we give you all name, all the glory, honor, and praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And Commissioner Brown, this may be your last meeting, so if you'll lead us in
my last one.
Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next meeting will sort of be, we change commissioners.
I thought it was the January.
Oh, no, because you be about it here.
But you still had to come.
Okay.
You
I
can
thought
still-
it was January for some reason.
We'll still let you do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
But you know, so now you just won't do nothing else.
Yeah.
Other than say, I see y'all when I see you.
Want to make a few comments. I had the honor Saturday of attending the memorial service for Dr. Larry Withrow. He served on our town board for 10 plus years, made major contributions to the town, his leadership, but more importantly, his diplomacy. He was a pastor and a diplomat. He had a PhD in psychology, and he used those talents many times working with other members of the town board, as well as working with the town staff. His last few years have been challenging because he had a form of Parkinson's disease, and mobility and speaking for the last couple of years when he moved to Clayton became even more challenging. And so he's gone to his heavenly reward, and it was a celebration of life. In front of you, you'll see a proclamation that was signed and given to his wife and family. Flood mitigation work. We're continuing to work downtown, Vivian Creek. We have a new bridge at Pearl Street. It's not quite open yet. They've got to do some paving. They've started on lowering the tile on Edward Street, and to look at what they're replacing it with, it was, in the places I've seen already, it was a 12-inch sewer line piping. It was not your normal storm drain 24-inch piping, and that was predominantly clogged up, so you should see a lot more relief of water. And Michael might tell us when we're going to start the boring into the railroad track, but it'll be sooner than later, right?
Probably 1st of December.
And they are in process of, our engineers of working in the South Princeton, putting the bid specs together. The water and sewer improvements, they're putting their specifications together, and for the new sewer plant. Hopefully we're close to the DEQ getting our permits together. Is that?
We're close to DEQ having our permits to bid the water and sewer project, and we're hopefully close to the federal government releasing funds for USDA to fund our study for the wastewater treatment plant.
Good. So as we move forward, Princeton Fire Department, We had a celebration Monday a week ago. The insurance commissioner, Michael Causey, was joined us, who is the state fire marshal. The fire department had worked very diligently, and their fire rating has gone from a 5 to 3. 3 is pretty much the top of any rural fire department or volunteer fire department. But what it means is that their response time and water resources are the state of the art for a rural fire department, and will even get better as we put a new water line down Massey-Belt Road where fire hydrants will go in. Beaver Dam Creek continues to be a challenge as we clean up Beaver Dam Creek. Downtown, we're finding more and more issues a little further down the creek. There's 15 beaver dams that USDA Wildlife is working on, but most importantly, there's debris, logs. Chad, what else is in there?
Railroad ties.
Railroad ties.
Trash cans, a little bit of everything.
So a lot of progress, a lot to do. So with that, I'll turn it over to any other commissioner that wants to make any comments.
I guess I just have a question. You were saying with the railroad ties and trash cans and things, is that from someone dumping them or is just floating down?
Hurricane Matthew, the NC Railroad and Norfolk Southern have been replacing railroad ties. They left them on the side of the railroad track. And during the hurricane, a lot of our ditches downtown were blocked. If you recall, the railroad trestle was blown out and they washed further down. And so it's going to take some major FEMA money and some heavy equipment to get it all out, but that's part of handling this flood mitigation.
So how will it affect the flow coming through town that we're trying to improve?
It will, once it's gone, the water will be leaving town quicker. So, with that, I'll turn it over to any other commissioner. Don't forget, tomorrow's election day, from 6:30 to 7:30. So,
You know, I wish that we would have done the call, just remind the citizens, because there's two things that I think a lot of citizens do not know that they're voting at the school, and a lot of citizens don't know that tomorrow is actually election day.
Well, I did think to do it on Facebook. I didn't think to do the call, but I did do it on Facebook.
any other comments? Hear none, is there a motion to adopt our agenda? Motion made by Commissioner Rose, seconded by Commissioner Robinson. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. Is there a motion to adopt our consent agenda? These are the minutes from the prior meetings. Motion made by Commissioner Rose and seconded by Commissioner Robinson. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion passes unanimously. And next, Bruce Naglin from North Carolina Department of Commerce, Community Economic Development, but more importantly, a fellow Johnstonian.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Bruce Naglin, Community Economic Development Planner with the for the North Central Prosperity Zone, which encompasses 15 counties, including Johnston and, of course, Princeton. The Main Street Rural Planning Center, of which I am part, is part of the North Carolina Department of Commerce. We work primarily with communities across the state and to help develop tools and capacity, create jobs and improve economics, their economies. And I'm here tonight to present a proposal about the Community Economic Recovery and Resiliency Initiative, or CERI, C-E-R-R-I, for you to consider for the town of Princeton. Economic resiliency is the ability to recover quickly from a shock, the ability to withstand a shock, and the ability to avoid the shock altogether. That's a definition from the Economic Development Administration. And it's a pretty good one when you think about what resiliency means. And so one of the goals is to accomplish at least one of those, if not all three, in some fashion or form or other. Next slide, please. CERI was developed by the North Carolina Commerce Rural Planning Program after reaching out to all 100 counties in the state to learn what the economic impacts were of the COVID-19 pandemic, which helped us to design the initiative. And as with any plan, the economic recovery plan helps the community focus on the goal of recovery and resiliency, in this case, and identify ways that the local government can better support the small business community. It's sort of a two-way street that we're going to be looking at. Also identifies opportunities to grow the local economy and build resiliency to future economic disruptions. Since the rural planning program, the next one, sorry. I'm not used to guiding something. But since the rural planning program works primarily with small communities and rural areas, the initiative was developed for these communities. It's an asset-based planning process, which means we work with you to develop an implementation or work plan based on what you have right now. In other words, it's not pie in the sky kind of planning. Next. We also add to or update any previous planning the community has done in the past. We don't try to reinvent the wheel. We'll maybe have a spoke or two, but we won't try to reinvent it necessarily. But we also offer services and economic analysis that smaller communities don't usually receive. And so that's one of the things that we're proud of. So the process starts with, I think we go to the next one. Yeah, there we go. Process starts with recruiting a local work group of, nope, next one.
Mm-hmm.
And next one.
Okay.
There we go. Let's see, where are we? Here we are. The process starts with recruiting a local work group of 8 to 12 individuals. They'll provide community information and feedback on the report and work plan ultimately. The group should be representative of the population and include business and property owners, residents, at least one elected official, economic development person, real estate developer, and staff, which would be Ms. Marlowe, and others. And we'll talk more about that as we put the process, go through the process. But prior to our first meeting, which will be 3 to 4 meetings altogether, I'll be reviewing previous plans and compiling economic data, such as retail sales leakage, workforce, labor force participation, economic or educational attainment, and more. We'll also schedule a tour of the town so I know where things are, and like neighborhoods and downtown boundaries, and where the buildings are, and what's new, some issues, and those kinds of things. And I want to learn the good, the bad, and the ugly about Princeton. Not that there's much bad or ugly about Princeton, but if there is, I'll learn about it. But and then at our first meeting, we'll present that economic and demographic data. We'll do a SWOT analysis, determine the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Identify community assets, identify any stakeholders who are not on the work group, and review a proposed business survey that will give to all of the businesses in town. It'll be online. It's an online survey. It's an anonymous survey, so we don't know who is answering anything, but we'll also have paper surveys if there's folks who can't get online. Then at our second meeting, we'll present business survey results, results from a survey about the local government support of the small business community, as well as stakeholder interview results, because I'll be interviewing a lot of people. And then at the third meeting, the recovery plan of work will be completed with guidance from staff and the work group. And the plan will be ultimately heavily influenced by the findings from the first two meetings. Next slide, please. Uh-oh. Press another button. There we go. No, that shouldn't be there. Ah, something's missing on that one. Okay, well, if you have I don't know if you have a copy of the thing.
We do.
Okay, it's irrelevant, but there's a little plan in there that's kind of an outline of everything that I just kind of mentioned. But next slide is kind of shows a little graphic of one of the pages of the small business survey. As I said, that's going to help us determine how the pandemic affected the local business community. And will also help us figure out some specific training that the businesses might need to become more resilient, whether it's adding an online, like an e-commerce component to their business structure or whatever it might be. We'll find that out from the survey, but we can try to help figure out some training for that. And this is probably it's a very important part of the process of getting participation is going to be critical. And then, next slide. And then if you choose to move forward, there are two documents that need to be signed, a memorandum of understanding and a resolution requesting participation necessary. The highlights of the memorandum of understanding include who we are, what we'll do, what the town will do, primary services, which we've already talked about. It also mentions somewhere in there that you'll probably be billed for mileage, all the way from Clayton, which is where my office is, for meetings I have to come to in Princeton. And then also we'll hold the first meeting in January of 2022 and have the recommended work plan to you to adopt by May of 2022. The MOU may be signed by the town administrator if you authorize to do that. The resolution, in essence, indicates that you as a board are aware of and would like the initiative to begin, and would need to be signed by the mayor and the clerk. And I think I've stayed within my 10 or 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, we'd be glad to.
I was on the conference call with you and Curtis Lee. And Curtis Lee is our planner from Triangle J, who helped us on this project. But from your study and analysis, we may be able to use that for further grants for other. If you want to go into what this study may entail us in the future.
Yeah, it's actually less of a study than it is really a plan how to do some things. But what you get out of it is a community assessment, economic development assessment to a large extent. And so what you can do with that will help justify in some cases some of the ARP funding that you get for projects that you want to do. Any kind of planning that you do is going to help in the long run with any kind of grants or funding that you receive from whoever, things that you apply for. And we're also here to help, we're not really consultants, we work for the state. And but we're here on a relationship basis, not a monetary basis. So we're here to help, even help implement some of the planning that we would help you with. And this could lead to a more robust economic development plan, whether it's a strategic, 5-year strategic plan or whatever else. But we'll figure that out as we go through the process.
Well, from a personal basis, I appreciate y'all's assistance and helping our community grow and become more economically resilient. And any other questions?
one other thing too, if it matters, I also have I know that one of the things you want to do is help improve the downtown. And I've got a pretty long career in downtown development, in Main Street development, so that's a bonus, I guess. Not a bonus. So,
You were planner for Clayton for a few years, and,
yeah, almost 10 years.
not to give you total credit for it, downtown Clayton looks great.
It does. If nothing else, I planted a few seeds. So,
Is there a motion to adopt the memorandum of understanding and the resolution?
There is.
Is it just, is this, maybe I'm missing something, but is this paid for by the state? It's not anything that we're entering?
Except for mileage.
Except for mileage.
Okay.
all the way from Clayton.
And if
Okay.
you remember, about 3 months ago, we approved the application. Curtis Lee had
Oh,
filled it
yeah.
out.
Mhm.
This is it,
That's, okay, now.
He did a good job.
Gotcha.
compiling our
He did.
information for us.
He really did.
Okay.
It's actually one of the best of the 5 that we received for North Central Prosperity Zone.
Well, let's not be
I
telling you
shouldn't say
that.
that, I shouldn't say that. Forgot your update.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Brown. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get this to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you just
Thank you.
emailed it to me. Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
Thank you, good to meet you.
You too. Have a good night.
Persons to be heard, Pastor Marvin Only, is he here? You want to summarize what he, Lee, if you want to summarize what he was asking, or?
I don't know the date, but we have a flyer that they're hosting the community Thanksgiving over by the coffee shop. Some of you may have already heard or haven't at this time. What they're running in, and this is my understanding, what we're, they did not want it to appear as they were so much the host. They were wanting the town to post it as the town's Thanksgiving community dinner. They want everybody, they don't want to feel like just because we're a church, we're not welcome. They want to be able to offer a hot meal, and they were wanting us to publicize versus them. So with that being said, I talked to Miss Marla, and she said just to recommend him coming to the board meeting to see if you guys would be okay with us posting and advertising this versus the church. But that they are behind it though, because it's something they felt strong enough about, making sure that everybody had a hot meal and not eating by themselves. So that's my understanding from him. Because I know they had, I think, reached out by messenger through Facebook, and I think maybe April might have done a correspondence or two, but then they brought the flyers by, but we haven't advertised on the town page itself. But that's what they're requesting us to do. And I'm sure there's more to it, but that was just the gist of the call.
So, let me make sure that I understand that they are going to host a dinner on Thanksgiving Day.
No, it's Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I don't know the date of it, because I was expecting him to be here, but I can go grab the flyer if you guys would like to take a
Okay.
look at it. 'Cause
It's, it looks like that.
Okay.
Being next door to the coffee shop, Don Creech had mentioned it to me a few times. They basically just want to do a free meal for anybody in the community that would come by on that Saturday after Thanksgiving. And they just, basically they were going to send an email for me to have to read, I guess, tonight, but I didn't get it. So my understanding though is it is literally just, they're just asking, would it be okay for the town to post it on their Facebook page to put out the word?
because he was saying that they didn't want to, so much of them be behind it, they want it to be a town community event.
So they kind of want to stand in the background. I understand.
And it's all, yeah, everything would be free, there's no money exchange.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, I think there's just a consensus that we will help support the program. We're not the sponsors of it.
But it sounded like that he wanted us to be, does he actually want us to be the sponsor? Because that's what.
No. They just want to be in the background and not, I mean, we're not putting anything on. They just want us to advertise versus them.
Oh, okay, okay.
So the church isn't so much the host, it's the town that's asking the community to come together so nobody has to have a hot meal alone. It's basically what I gather.
Because what I'm gathering and listening to is that sometimes people can kind of feel that they're, like you said earlier, not wanted
Mhm.
or not welcome. But if they're thinking that it's a town event, then they'll be more apt to come out and fellowship in a free, unjudgmental basis, or a free, unjudgmental zone, I should say.
I think consensus is that we would certainly be welcome to promote it, and as long as someone else is doing most of the legwork.
Yeah, the only thing we've been asked to do is just to get it advertised.
I'm going to move item number 10 forward. Consider Michael King application for open seat on the planning board, and you have his resume in front of you, and not to editorialize, but I don't think we could find a better resume for the planning board.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you a question before we move to that piece. Now, with this, even though we said pretty much everybody has a consensus, is this something that we still need to make a motion and judge and vote on, or?
I think it's just a consensus is fine on
Okay,
there.
just want to make sure that we stay in order.
Yeah.
And I just received that email like right now, if you're interested in hearing it, 2 paragraphs.
Go ahead.
Okay. So what is the Princeton Thanksgiving on Saturday, November 27th, from 12 to 2, local businesses and churches in the community are coming together to host a community meal. A simple meal of soup and sandwiches will be served on First Street. Tents, tables, and chairs will be set up. The focus is for the community to come and simply share a meal together, to sit down and break bread and share fellowship with their neighbor that they otherwise wouldn't spend time with. From the beginning, our vision has been just this above, and that this event is being sponsored by community friends, not any particular businesses or churches. With that focus, we're asking the Town of Princeton to simply allow their Facebook page to serve as the launching platform for the Facebook promotion. All needed information will be given and shared to make the event. Nothing else will be needed or required. We will share it from there across other businesses, church, and personal Facebook pages. Thanks for your consideration. Marvin only.
Okay. So we have an opening on the planning board, and the memo, Linwood Bonneville has moved into Chris Watson's position, which leaves a new position on the planning board, and Michael King has applied for it, and Michael is a professional planner, and working with him through many projects, but he was a planner for Johnson County and now is in Kenley, and actually from conversation with him early, doing some of the projects that a town manager would be doing, so.
Good majority.
If you want to, you're also a new resident to Princeton, but not a new resident to Princeton proper, but you've been in our community for.
New in town of Eagle So, yeah, I have submitted a resume here. I kind of scratched out the application and wanted to room on it. So if you have any questions on anything, I'd be glad to answer those. But other than that, I think the resume is pretty self-explanatory there. I've worked with Marl on some projects and assisted her on some things. So.
And as far as you know, Ma is not mad with you.
She is not,
As far as you know.
not to my knowledge. But I'll be glad to help the town any way I can, planning related or as a citizen.
Oh,
So,
Mr. Mayor, if there's no further questions or discussion, that I make a motion that we accept the applicant and appoint Mr. Kane to the planning board slot that is open.
Is there a second?
You got it.
Do what now? Speak up pretty please.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself down toward the last that I started fading a little bit. Yeah, but I just made a motion that we accept the application and that we appoint Mr. King to the vacant position.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robinson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. I don't get to vote, I don't know, I raise my hand. All opposed? Thank you, Mike. I'm going to be swearing you in.
okay.
Here's Bible. Oh, I need that one's mine.
This one is being on camera.
So if you'll put your, I, Michael S. King,
I'm Michael S. King.
do solemnly swear
Do so.
or affirm, which one?
Do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will faithfully and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina,
that I will faithfully and
bear true
bear
allegiance,
true allegiance to the state of North Carolina,
and to the constitutional powers and authorities
and to the constitutional powers and authority
which are or may be
which are or may be
established for the government thereof.
established for the government thereof,
That I will endeavor to support,
that I will endeavor to support,
maintain, and defend
maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States.
not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States,
And that I will and truly execute the duties
and I will truly execute the duties
of the office
of the office
of the member of the Town of Princeton Planning Board
of the member of the Town of Princeton Planning Board
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
according to law, so help me God.
according to law, so help me God.
Welcome to the Planning Board.
I need a signature on this copy as
Okay.
well. I got it right there. You can take that one with you. Not my pen, but the paper.
Thank you for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If I can help you in any way, just let me know.
Okay, thanks. And you're welcome to stay.
I gotta go to a wedding meeting. We got a wedding Saturday.
Madison.
He's
got this thing that he's got to get your
okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Next is a report from Chief Sutton.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
If you look on your report for the second sheet, I made some notes, just wanted to point it out with one of the disturbances. We had one on Pine Street, and the reason I'm mentioning this because it's rather significant is the other day we were out on Hopes Pond Road with an individual that had some mental illness issues, and we just kind of had to deal with him, but it wasn't anything that put anybody's life in danger or neighbors, or no one's safety was jeopardized or anything like that, but that was pretty much the gist of that. Some people might have rolled by and seen two guys actively fighting, but they weren't fighting. I think the brother was trying to calm them down, because generally if we have some some mental illness that's involved, we're not quick to want to put hands on anyone. We try to see if we can calm them down first. That's proven to be the better option. And when they cool down, then we can try to talk to them. So 20, 30 minutes later, he was fine, waving at everybody and speaking to us. So that wasn't anything that was a big issue at the time. I just want to make note of that just in case that was seen. And another thing I wanted to mention was the fact that I want to say about a couple of weeks ago, he had an involuntary commitment that involved one of our locals. We deal with her quite often concerning involuntary commitments, and most of you don't know what that is. It's when someone is trying to do harm to themselves or someone else, and then someone has to go down to the master's office and swear out a commitment that they are doing such. And law enforcement picks them up and transport them to triage, which is the Johnson Medical Center, where they're evaluated. But wasn't any use of force used. She just kind of went down to the ground because she didn't get a balance, and that's kind of the way it happened. But she was giving the pharmacy a hard time, and of course we were called, so we transported her to the hospital. But being it was right out there in the open where everybody could see it, I just wanted to make a note of that, just in case anything came up. Other than that, there was something brought to my attention. I want to say it was around October 6th. I spoke to Commissioner Martin about it. He had contacted me regarding, apparently there was some conversation, and I think Commissioner Robertson had mentioned it to Commissioner Martin, but there was some conversation at the school, Princeton High School, about a black student being taunted by some white students concerning the former president's flag. And I think there were some teachers present at the time that it occurred, and I think it eventually got out of hand. I don't know what type of involvement the young lady had prior to this event, but I've heard something that kind of related to the young lady and the young man that was involved. Just kind of give you a backdrop of where our jurisdiction begins and where our jurisdiction ends. The school has a resource officer, which is the sheriff's office, so anything that takes place on that school during school hours is the sheriff's office jurisdiction. The only time we get involved is if they request our assistance. And of course, when I was told what took place, I had contacted the SRO because I think he was out that day. He didn't know anything about it, but he looked into it, and Mr. Jarvis, he actually looked into it as well. I think he was supposed to be getting in contact with the school officials, Board of Education. So apparently some others got a little upset because nothing was being done to their satisfaction, to the level they wanted it resolved. And at that point, it just kind of morphed into something huge. And then next thing I know, just recently the news media had aired a story on it. They didn't ask or request an interview from me, which is fine because I don't like to step on the sheriff's office toes, just like they don't like to step on mine. But we were available if they needed us, and anything we had regarding personnel or assets, we were more than happy to assist them with it. But it didn't come as far as that. If it would have reached the perimeter of the school and exceeded that into the town city limits, then of course we would have acted on it. But that didn't happen thus far. So just in case you haven't heard or you did heard, and I just kind of want to make sure you got the facts versus just second and third person information, third party information. There was a shots fired call that we went to. We did have a weapon that was stolen that we took a report of some time ago. Don't like weapons floating around town. This is not the first time we've had a weapon that was stolen. But, we did respond to the shots called. Of course, didn't see any cases, didn't see you know, after speaking to a lot of the neighbors in Camden, we didn't end up with any information that we wanted to. But again, it does happen on occasion, so, thank God nobody was hurt, but, beyond Camden area, not finding any cases, that's about the extent of it, unless something comes up or someone has some information that's useful to us. Regarding the Fall Festival, last night, it was, I think we had like, Princeton Church of God there, Princeton Baptist Church, and I want to say Grace Baptist Church had a bonfire, if I'm not mistaken. But we had 3 events technically last night, but most of the people, they actually attended the Fall Festival downtown. There was a lot of people down there.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
A lot. And they were parked all the way down Edward Street on the east and west side of Center Street, as well as Railroad Street, as well as behind the pharmacy. I think there was a couple cars back there, but there was even probably half the parking lot covered at Princeton High School, so there was a lot of folks. So it turned out very well. They had a lot of showing. Didn't have any issues other than someone that was, Commissioner Rose might know about this, I'm not sure, but someone apparently that was wearing a shirt that was supposedly working with the school, the church was had some inappropriate behavior, so we actually investigated that, but and we're still kind of working on it, but beyond that, we didn't have anybody making any disturbances or anything like that. It was a peaceful, uneventful, other than the festival day. Is there anything else that anyone wants to, any questions, anything? I have a couple more things that I want to mention, but I want to stop.
Well, I'm just gonna ask real quick, the stolen firearm, was that a result of a break-in, or was it?
It was a break-in.
It was.
It was a break-in.
Break into a car, break into a house?
To a house.
Okay.
Yeah, to a house. We've had a couple names dropped, and we have some ideas, but, we can't violate anyone's constitutional right.
I do have one question.
Sure.
There is I think it's a yellow colored car.
Camaro?
Yeah. That comes through town.
Everybody knows that car.
Yeah, okay. I'm well aware, but he's been issued a citation, and I think he sold the car. The car was listed on Craigslist.
Okay.
So someone outside the city limits in the county bought it.
They sold it about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks.
Okay.
So it's no longer in the city limits. Like I said, I'm not gonna warn it so many times, and I think when Lieutenant had approached the house, they kind of made it out something that it wasn't, like we were singling him out, but that wasn't the case. Everyone was complaining about that car.
I think the driver needed to mature a little bit, didn't he?
I think so. His excuse was he bought the car like that, but if you're gonna buy a car, obviously you're gonna crank it up, you're gonna drive it, you don't know how loud it is, so that wasn't an excuse. Ignorance is no excuse, so that's kind of the way I looked at it. The jail, just kind of give you an update, has been overcrowded for a long time. It has a capacity of 191 inmates, and I kind of know how it works because I used to work for the Department of Corrections, dealt with inmates all the time, so when it gets to a point where it's full capacity, it gets a little frustrating, but not to say that we're gonna neglect arresting people and taking them to jail, but I think as of last month, they had like 305. Their capacity is 191. So we have to send inmates out to other counties to house them in annex jails, and that's what you have to do. And that's what they've been doing, but they're coming along in that facility right off of Business 70s, coming along right behind John Deere. But, it's taking a little time, but it's coming together.
You know how many, what their capacity is going to be?
At the new jail, oh my God, the sheriff did mention it, I can't quote it on TV, but I'm fairly confident it's over the capacity that they have now currently. It might be around 300 or so, maybe a little bit more than that. But I can't give you a definite number because I'm not sure. But it's gonna house the communication center, I wanna say the magistrate's office, and obviously the jail. And I think the sheriff's office is gonna gradually transition over there after a period of time. I think the whole focus is to get the majority of the officers downtown, the courthouse, at that location, because they just run out of space.
So will the current 191 stay active and that'd be extra, or are they gonna shut it down and move everything?
That's gonna be, I don't think they're gonna run that one. Now, if they decide it's gonna be the annex, they might choose to go that route, but I'm not really sure. I think as it stands, all the inmates are gonna be housed at the new jail.
Because if they did anything, more than likely, there was a section of the current jail that is very old from the old construction that was there. That I don't remember exactly how many beds it was, but probably more than likely that they'll cut that out. That they may continue to use some of the other beds.
The state comes down every so often, does an inspection with the jail, and if they're over capacity, almost like you would get a nasty ground from the state when you're over a certain percentage, and, as far as the general fund or whatnot, but, yeah, they'll get a little nasty ground if they're over the capacity, because the state takes that very seriously.
Yeah, get a lot of lawsuits too.
Absolutely.
Well, the county has grown 25% over the past 10 years. And with increasing population, sometimes you're getting population that needs to be incarcerated.
Well, it costs them about $50,000 a year when they house inmates. See, they're Wayne County or Harnett County, so if that tells you anything, it's rather expensive. That's all I have right now, unless anyone has anything.
Thank you. Public Works Superintendent Thompson.
Good evening.
Chad?
We have this month, so first thing is, I did want to mention that we assisted the church with the county fair, some cones, some trash cans, light towers, and town's message boards. Y'all probably saw them at each end of Dr. Jones. And I think they had a very good turnout. I rode through here last night, and it was like a madhouse. So I think they had a very good turnout for that. The only other thing I had was a price. I wanted to get back to y'all on our pump that I mentioned last month, and the price for the repair was $1,100. So I wanted to give y'all that price that I said I would last month. And other than that, if y'all have any questions, that's all I had this month. Like I said, I've been in real good touch with the guys downtown as well as Mike with the project. So there's been a few hiccups, but everything's so good, it seems to be going pretty smooth downtown.
Can you tell us any more about the drainage work that the school did?
I went over there, from the best I could tell, the day I went over there, I saw some equipment and I saw that there was no one over there. But from the best I could tell, they were just replacing the tile that was existing with some larger tile. And I had been in touch with Travis over there, and that's what they were saying. They're just upgrading, just upsizing the tile. You know, try to get it out there a little quicker since they got the new field. So,
I met with Jarvis Ellis last Monday, and part of the conversation, they're going to be trying to work with NCDOT to get some more tile under the highway for drainage.
That's the biggest issue
But-
over there.
Yeah, that could be part of the NC, DOT's, upgrade of the entire highway. That schedule could be moved up to help in all the drainage issues, because boring under a 4-lane highway is very expensive.
Yeah, there's a lot of, tiles under 70 that's causing a lot of problems. Eagles Crest, Isaiah Drive, it's just, they were good, they were the right size at one time, but the development is just, we can't handle it anymore.
So now that's one of the reason I called and had Marlo, check in with you to get you to go and look,
Yes, sir.
because, and I did talk briefly with, Mr. Ellis about it too, but, what I saw, that, so, the ball fields, and I would say that that's the football field and the baseball fields, that their thought was, and they actually came back, late last week, and, had our enterprises did some more work closer to the building, where the water from the building will feed down that way. That my concern was, and I talked with Mr. Ellis about it, is that down in Don's area, that water is all gonna go there. And I don't know, once we get a substantial rainfall, what that is gonna do. Because, I mean, they already had problems, and it looks like now that they're gonna get more water.
There's about 3 pieces of tile that goes under 70 Highway from Pine Street to Pearl Street. And it's my understanding they're trying to divert it right at the school, not moving the water further east. But it's a difficult task of getting water under 70 Highway because there's just not enough tile.
Because I noticed even in this last storm, we had the water that was in our subdivision. And it looked like we were in a swimming pool. But when I was able to get out on 70, I saw where it was trying to get out. And it was going over to, right over to the car lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was beginning to back up. So I was like, man, this water's gotta go somewhere.
And that's the next project that we will start on Beaver Dam Creek, is cleaning it from Deacon Jones to Railroad Street, right, Marlon? Okay.
So when it leaves Deacon Jones, where does it go? Or how does it flow?
It comes out of
And it runs down
Eagles
the front of
Crest,
Deacon Jones.
runs down, comes under between Deacon Jones and the vacant property, crosses under the street at Pediatrics,
Comes to the railroad track.
angles across the field, comes behind the town hall, crosses under Barton Street, and goes out where we're doing the work, past the cemetery, under the railroad, out Beaver Dam Creek.
Because when I saw all that water sitting, I was trying to figure out where was it going, and it just looked like it was just sitting there. And I'm like, okay, it's
I
gotta
was
go
waiting for the
somewhere.
water to move way down here.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was so much here.
Yeah.
I mean, the fire department was about to float off from what I heard. I was out of town, but from what I heard, it was, I had no idea what was going on, but yeah, it was bad. So,
Well, as a member of the Princeton Church God, I put on the big event last night. I want to thank you guys and the police department for help and all that. It was a very, uneventful event. Everything was smooth and it was definitely a big help, the way everybody pitched in from the town. And also, I wanted to mention to the police department, on Saturday, we had Cars, Cops, and Coffee. We didn't mention that. That was a little show, a little car show down at the coffee shop Saturday, which Lieutenant Radford attended with the car and put his car right in line with everybody else. And it was a good outreach moment where kids got to see in the car, and a lot of folks came by and talked to Lieutenant Radford, and it was a good event for the town and the town police department, as well as everybody got to come and look at each other's car. It was a nice event.
Thank you. The next item under other business is celebrating Christmas with the town.
We got the Christmas parade, December 4th, line up at 12. Is everyone gonna be able to attend? We'll have the same float that we had before, trailer with the chairs. And Vicky contacted me mid-morning and she could not find candy.
No candy for y'all boys.
We will have some by parade time, but most of the time we buy the, it goes on sale the next morning from Halloween, and they were out. They said they gave out Saturday morning, and that's the two Walmarts, 581 and Smithfield. So she was getting out today. I haven't heard from her this afternoon to see if she found any, but she was in search of some Reese cups and some Snickers, and that kind of thing.
And just in case you can't, just how well do you actually make Reese's cups?
How well what now?
Do you make them? Like homemade ones? Can you make them?
Now, I ain't cook. You make it on the stove. But they're not as pretty. How's that?
Okay, the town market in Pine Level, they buy at least 2 tons of Christmas candy, and we buy Christmas candy from them for the hardware store. So you might reach out to
I looked at some places online. I mean, there's options. It's just we've never had to hunt for.
yeah,
candy
Billy
before.
Daughtry will try to help you out.
Yeah.
But this will be a different kind of
Right. So we'll
candy,
do that.
not what you're used to, but it is a resource.
The lineup's at noon and parade's at 1. Parade's at 1.
Mhm. Start lining up at 12. But can everyone be there?
You'll still be on the board then?
Yeah, I was looking at the calendar, but I mean, if y'all want the new, the commissioner.
There's room for everybody.
To,
There's room for everybody.
Yeah, also, the Lions Club will have breakfast with Santa at Highway 55 as a fundraiser from about 8 to 10. And the Princeton United Methodist Church will have soup and hot dogs at the Methodist Church.
So they are going to go
Yes.
forward with that. Okay.
So,
Because I want to start advertising.
and
that's on
All right. I'll send out a reminder. Of course, the next thing